we see that the sutra itself comes to life. And I think that is very important. And that's what Master has always been trying to do for us, is trying to make the sutra come to life for us. So today, we're going to do a review of last week, what we talked about last week. And so first thing first, last week, we talked about that we're in chapter 19 now. And it's really about the merits of the teacher of the Dharma. So more specifically, we talked about what the benefits are of being the teacher of the Dharma. If you're the teacher, if you're willing to uphold, if you're willing to speak, to explain, to copy, and to memorize the sutra, the teaching itself, then you are a teacher of the Dharma. And being a teacher of the Dharma, what are the benefits and what are the powers of being a teacher of Dharma? That's what this chapter is mostly about. So we began with the six senses. If you are the teacher of the Dharma, you will get all these. Now, this is what we talked about last week. This is specifically coming from the sutra and mostly about the different functions, the merits of these six senses. So the question that I had was, why is it that we would have these six senses and these powers that we get? So for example, this is regarding the merits of the eye, and it's very similar through all the six senses. But Master brought us through the first one, which is the eyes, and we are able to see a lot of things. We're able to see far and beyond. We're able to see from inside and the outside. We're able to see all the worlds, the great manifold cosmos. We're able to see all these things that we couldn't see before. And it's the same thing for hearing. We're able to hear from all the way from the hell, all the way up to the heavens. We're able to hear from within and without. We're able to hear from all these worlds to all these sentient beings. That's what we're able to do. And so the question that I had was, why are we able to get all these? Okay, so we had a discussion last week about why is it that we can get this? Why is it that we have these power? And the reason Master taught us was that because our goal was very simple. We wanted to benefit the sentient beings. We need to go into all the people, and by observing all the things that they did, even though some of the things that they did were real and some of the things that they did were sort of like mirage, they're not real. But we, through observing, we're able to understand these things, and we're willing to learn, and we're willing to listen, and we're willing to look. And the most important thing is we make sure that we don't want to be tainted by this world, by all these afflictions, and therefore we obtain these abilities to listen carefully, to look deeply. So all in all, this chapter is talking about if we care about this world, then you will listen carefully. You will listen to all the parts of the world, not just the ones in the heavens, but also the ones in hell. You will also look not just within your own boundary and within your own country, but you will look far and beyond. You will look at other countries. You will look at other people of different background. You will understand them so that you can help them. So it's not exactly like if you are the teacher of the Dharma, you will be able to see all these things, but rather it's because you want to be the teacher of the Dharma. It's because you want to uphold the responsibility of passing on the teaching. You need to hear the sounds of all these sentient beings so you will know how to pass the Dharma to them. So you need to observe them by looking, by listening, by feeling these people, these sentient beings, and understanding how to help them. Only after you help them, that you have formed good affinity, will you be able to teach them the Dharma. So this chapter tells you, like, if you are the teacher, you get all these benefits, but rather, because it's the other way around, but rather it's because you want to teach the Dharma, you need to look deeper. You need to listen wider. You need to care about all the sentient beings. It's not just the rich, not just the poor, not just your countrymen, but everything, and not just human beings too, but rather everyone. So that's what we talked about last week, about why we have all these merits, why this chapter only talks about these merits. Okay, so for the sake of all suffering sentient beings, right? For the sake of teaching them, for the sake of passing on this Dharma and the teaching, we need to turn our 6 senses into wisdom. And how do you do that? Well, first, by turning sensory senses into action. Not just listening, not just watching and just looking, but rather it's really into action. So this is what we talked about last week. And that was a very brief review of what we talked about. So what are we going to talk about this week? Something that I feel hopefully would bring a different perspective. So this is the story. I think it was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, Master talks about the story of the sands of the Ganges River. Okay, so I'm sure all of you probably, and if not, I'll briefly repeat the story. And this is a story where Buddha was walking down the Ganges River and with all the disciples. And so what he did was he took the sand from the river, and it was inside the fingernails. And so he asked his disciple Ananda. He said, "Well, how much how is the comparison between the sands in the fingernail? You know, the number. Which one is greater, the sands in the fingernails or the sands of Ganges River?" And obviously Ananda said, "Well, the sands of Ganges River is a lot more than the sands in your fingernail." And so Buddha made the mention that yes, the sands in the fingernail represents the Dharma that was already taught, the Dharma that was already spoken, the Dharma that was already taught by the Buddha, okay? And the sands in the river meant the Dharma that has yet to be taught. So that's the story, okay? So when we hear this story, and Master talk about this story, it's always to tell us that there are so much more for us to learn. There are so much more things, Dharma, in everywhere, so much more than the ones that we already heard, and so much more than the ones that were spoken. That means there's so much more that can't be spoken. There's so much more that was not spoken by the Buddha, and the same thing by our Master. So that is why I can feel that Master always says we're running out of time. Because, you know, if you are trying to explain all the sands in the Ganges River, then obviously you're running out of time. You're running out of fingernails, actually. The sands in your fingernail, you're running out of 10 fingers and toes trying to fit all the sands. We're running out of all these things. We're running out of time. We're running out of fingernails. We're just not enough time and space to fit all these sands. Okay, but so Master 2 days ago asked about, so with such small amount of Dharma, right, just how much can truly be understood by us and accepted by the ordinary beings, right? We're not like the Buddha already enlightened, even though we have the innate Buddha nature. But just how much can we understand? And even the very small amount of the Dharma that's in the fingernail, how much can we understand? Forget about all the sands in the Ganges River, but what about the ones in the fingernail? So that was the key message in the story. The key message in the story was there's so much more. And what are we going to do? You can't even understand the ones in the fingernail. What about the ones in the Ganges River? But after hearing it, and this is not the first time I hear this story, okay? This is not the first time I hear the story, but 2 days ago, I heard the story, and I all of a sudden had this flash of idea that it's not this, okay? It's not just talking about this. I tried to reverse thinking it, and I think that it actually gave me hope. Rather than saying that, oh my God, there's so much more that I need to do, and there's so much more that I haven't learned, there's so much more that the Buddha didn't say. Rather than to think of it in a very pessimistic way, rather to think of it as, this is horrible. I'm, only getting the fingernail part and I don't even understand. I'm turning it upside down. And I think there's a different way to look at this to encourage all of us. So what I'm trying to tell everybody is, we already know, okay? Buddha already knew. Master already know that all of the Dharma cannot be completely spoken and taught. It's already mentioned that some of the Dharma that were already written into words were already, the moment that are written into words, it's already deviated from the teaching, okay? Because these Dharma, it's not described by words, but rather it's something that you have to be understood. It's something that you have to feel and understand on your own. It's not on the level of the words. It's not on the level of your hearing or watching. So if it's already known that you cannot say everything, then I believe with all the wisdom that the Buddha and our master have, they must choose the most important to share with us. And that was the key. If you already know, it's like me, right? There are plenty of these stories where if I have, okay, I'm not saying you, if I have only 6 more months to live, I'm going to plan out what I'm going to do, the most important things in those 6 months. Same thing. Buddha, when he was enlightened, must already knew that the Dharma in everywhere, everything, all of it exists in everything. And there's not enough time to explain everything. Therefore, what was already said must be the most important out of all these things. And that's what I also think about what Master is doing. In throughout the 53 years in Tzu Chi, she must already knew that it was very, very difficult. You remember the story that she shared with us? The moment that she was doing the bowing practice of the Lotus Sutra and of the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, and she had that feeling. Master had that feeling of 尽极亲诚, that feeling that she cannot speak, she cannot talk about it, and then so that we can understand. She shared with us, and she shared with us the feeling, and she knew that we wouldn't get it because we didn't get it ourselves. It's like the same thing that I said last week, that if you were born not being able to see, if you were born blind, how can I explain to you what red is? You cannot understand the color red if you've never seen red before. I cannot use words to tell you what red is. I cannot even tell you to smell red, to hear red, to touch red. It's something that you must see for yourself. So that's what that feeling was. So Master knew that in order for us to understand all these, it's impossible, because it's impossible by merely talking and merely sharing the feelings that we would be able to understand. So what was said and what was spoken must be extra, extra important. And it's even more so important in that it's not just this, but Master, and this is something that Master shared with us, I think it was 2 days ago, when there was a group of volunteers from Hualien coming back to see Master. And one of the volunteer stood up, and he was very senior. He's already over ages of 80. And he was the very beginning. He was there in the very beginning in Hualien. So he shared with us. He shared with Master, actually. He said, the one thing about Master's teaching is that Master will not tell us the things that we cannot comprehend or the things that we cannot do. Meaning, if it's too difficult to understand, Master will make it easier for us to understand. If it's impossible for us to do, Master will try to make it so that it's easier for us to do. Meaning, she will not tell us things that, oh, let me tell you how to attain the supernatural powers of this and this and that. That's not what she does. She walks this earth. Meaning, she will only tell us the things that we can understand, that we can comprehend, and the things that we can do. So if in the very limited time, the most important things need to be said and it need to be understood. So I believe that what Master is telling us and what the Buddha was telling us must be important, must be understandable, and must be doable. And that is what Master in these past few days has been talking about, the essence of the Dharma. Do not just read the sutra and think that, oh, I can finish reading it, reciting it in 5 minutes and I'm done. But rather, can you understand the essence of the words, what the words are trying to bring out? Not the meaning of the words, but what the words were trying to bring out. So furthermore, I also believe it must be understood. It must be very important, and it must be understood and easy, but also it needs to allow us to expand from the sand that's in our fingernail to the sand in the Ganges River. I really believe that what the Buddha and the Master's trying to do for us is that she is telling us that we keep on looking at the sands in the fingernails, but she wants us to expand so that we will be able to one day also have the sands in Ganges River. But how? That's all in the key of what the Master was trying to say to us. So these 3 keys, okay, guess what? That's exactly what the Master is doing for us. And when you realize this, you know, it's not so pessimistic anymore. Oh my God, there's so much sand in the river and we only have like 5 things, you know, we only have fingernail. No, it's not. It's telling us that what we have in the fingernails, it's already the most essence, the most essential, the most important. And guess what? If I am asking you what you have in your fingernail, what are they? They are sand. So is all the sand in the Ganges River. It's the same sand. Looking at the sand in the fingernail allow us to understand all the sand in the river. It's the same thing. There's something that the Buddha and the Master is teaching for us so that we can expand it, so that we can understand it's not just for the fingernail, but rather it's for the entire river. So it's something that I really believe that that's what we are looking at right now. Something simple to understand, something that is essential to Dharma. I really believe that what's in the fingernail, it's already simple. So you don't have to comprehend. You don't have to look at all the river, all the sand in the river and say, oh my God, I need to look at all of that to understand? No. Something it's simple. Something it's essential. Something that the sand in the fingernail can represent. Something that can be multiplied. That even though you only have this little bit, but you can actually say, hey, even though it's only here, but it's the same in all the places. And from the sand in the fingernail, all of a sudden it becomes everywhere. And that's exactly what Master has been teaching us. And that's exactly what the Buddha was laying out the path for us. But now Master is making it, refining it, so that we of today's world understand the Dharma. I want to go back to last week again. If you just read the sutra, you would not understand. I wouldn't. I would not understand why the teacher of the Dharma has all these merits, because it was not explained. The sutra itself only tells you, if you do this, you will get this. It doesn't tell you why or how. Master, by paving the path and making it possible so that you actually do the things, and all of a sudden after you complete it, you turn around and you go like, oh wow, guess what? I just heard everyone's voice. I just looked at all the sentient beings in the world. Look at today's example. Yesterday, all the volunteers from Burma, the expedition, most of them, because I didn't see some of you from Malaysia, but most of them coming back here, representatives from the 3 countries, from Taiwan, from Burma, and also from Malaysia were here. And they essentially share with Master in ways that it was exactly described in this chapter. It was talking about, can you hear the sounds? Can you see the people that are really suffering And can you see the people that are in heavens? Master said today that yes, we see that, we hear that. Last year in July and in August, they were in hell. They have to take out loans to be able to repay. And then when they planted it, the flood came again. They have nothing. And then we gave them green beans, and now we give them the crops, the crops so that they could plant. Now they were able to have a very bountiful harvest. Now they're coming back and returning the harvest and say, this is something that we got, and now we're bringing back to you. This is something that we heard, even though we weren't there, even though we didn't step out of our country. Some of you might, but most of us didn't. But when we hear this, our ears right away are listening and hearing their stories. Our eyes are seeing their stories of the bountiful harvest they have and their loving kindness that they're willing to share. All of a sudden, we get all this. So it's something simple to understand, something essential to Dharma, something that can be multiplied everywhere. It's not just Burma. It's everywhere. It's also in Malaysia, also in Indonesia. It's also in Taiwan. It's also in Africa. It's everywhere. And that's exactly what the Master is helping us to do. So we should understand this very well. We should understand the essence, how to make it simple and how to make it multiply and replicable so that we can be a good teacher of the Dharma. Master, today, I was so touched today. At the end of the session, she talked about chapter 13. Chapter 13 was when the Bodhisattvas, they're all explaining that they are going to make a vow to pass on the Dharma. If we don't understand how to pass it on, how to teach the Dharma in the future, how will we be able to shoulder the responsibility of passing on the Dharma? So the most important thing is, how do you make it understandable and simple? Out of all the things that were said, can you make it simple and acceptable by people? How do you make it so that they understand and they can do it? And not just that. The hardest thing, if you remember last week, remember the 6th perfection, right? Giving, right? Giving, upholding precept, forbearance, diligence, samadhi or tranquility, and wisdom. The 6 perfections, remember, the first 5 are something that you can do on your own. You can choose to give. You can choose to uphold precept. You can choose to do all of the first 5. But the last one, wisdom, is being the teacher of Dharma. The last one is the wisdom to say, not only do you yourself get to do the first 5, but can you teach someone else to do the same? That's the first lesson. That's the first homework. Teach others so then they are willing to do the same. The second homework is teach them to become the teacher of the first 5 as well. They will also teach others how to do first 5. That's being the teacher of Dharma. And because you want to be the teacher of the Dharma, therefore you have all the merits. Okay, so that's the sharing for today. That's how we can pass on this Dharma. So I'll very quickly go through the questions and hopefully some answers. And because I understand a lot of these questions were already posted last year, and we never really got through them. So we're gonna go through them very quickly. So the first question is 3 vehicles, small, middle, and great teaching. Can we help explain the difference between the great teaching and one ultimate vehicle, if there is? And my answer to you has always been, I really believe that they are 3 steps. You can't take one step and skip. You cannot take the second step without going through the first one. In order to get to the big one, you need to go through small. And it's a process. It's like a kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, and you have university. You can't have a 3-year-old going to university and explaining and expecting them to understand. So it's a process of learning. I never believe that we should quantify them as small, medium, and large, or small, middle, or great, or not so great, and okay, great, and very great. You know, it's all very bad to try to categorize this, but I rather would think that these are the three vehicles at the right time explaining and guiding us. So for example, today, Master talks about the 5 different types of teacher of Dharma. Remember? One is upholding, 受持. One is upholding, following and doing. One is reciting, you know, 读, recite. The other one is to memorize, 读诵, memorize and read it out loud. And then the other one is to explain. Okay, so 读诵. And then the last one is copy. There are 5 things you can do to pass on the Dharma. One is by copying down. One is by memorizing it. One is by reciting it. One is by explaining it. And the last one is by doing it. So Master talks to us and said the most important is upholding and doing. And you know what? She's absolutely correct. But she's telling us this because in our world today, reciting, reading, copying isn't a problem. In the world where there's no one to do copying, reciting, and to do any of the ones to pass on the actual teaching, the most important things become, you also need to copy it. Master said that in the past, there were no pen, there were no paper. How would then these words get passed on to us? Someone must do it. But right now, what we need is to do it because people are already writing it down. We already have these writing. So same thing with these 3 vehicles. At the right time, they need to be applied to the right people. Right now, at this time, to all of us, we don't have to worry about copying and reciting because the most important right now is to understand and to do it. That's the responsibility of our generation. It's not to say copying and reciting is small, is middle, it's not so important. But it's right now, the most important is to understanding it and also passing it down and also to embody it in yourself. So that's the difference. To the different time, to the different people, to the different needs, there are going to be different vehicles. That's how I see the 3 vehicles. I would not use the words to quantify. This is small, this is big. I would not do that. I would just say there are 3 stages of our cultivation, 3 stages of learning. Some of us are still in kindergarten. Some of us are in high school. Some of us are in graduate school. It doesn't mean anything is any less important. If you don't have a good foundation in middle school, it doesn't matter how any good schools that you go to, you're going to lack some of the very basic fundamental skills. Okay, so I'm going to do one more question. Sorry, I'm going to do one more question. Okay, so this is what I want to do. Yes. So this is the one says that after committing evil deeds, some people fool themselves into believing that they can do good deeds and cancel them out. But this is impossible. This is actually coming from the book, Dharma as Water, Volume 1, and it was cited here at page 95. Okay, so when causes and conditions converge, the force of the karma becomes active and karmic retribution manifests. Okay, so the question is, what about if we repent for the previous act and vow not to commit anymore and vow to walk the living bodhisattva path diligently, life after life? Can these vows eliminate the previous evil karmic retribution? The answer is no. Well, no. Okay, so let me take it back. I don't mean to right away say no. What I mean to say is no. The difference is, honestly, if you vow to not do any of this again, if you repented, if you truly repented, not repented because you're so afraid that this is going to happen. If you repented, then Master said, the repenting itself means you're willing to accept whatever the consequences are. So whether they manifest or not, it becomes not a problem. The problem is how to not make it committed anymore and do it again. So the idea isn't to, it's twofold. One is today, one is future. Today, we're going to have the courage. That's what repenting means. The courage to accept whatever the evil seeds that you already planted. And when the karmic retribution manifests, you're going to have the courage to accept. That's what Master is teaching us, is to bravely embrace and accept this retribution. And when you bravely accept the retribution, you will feel that this is not retribution at all. In itself, it becomes gone. It disappears. Future, it's about, from this point on, you would also walk the living Bodhisattva path, and therefore you would not make the same mistake. So in of itself, when you're doing this, the karma becomes active, but you don't feel it because you are willingly accepting that this is what you're supposed to come. And because you're happily accepting it, it becomes not a retribution, but it becomes something that is automatic. And when it becomes automatic, it's just like breathing. It just becomes breathing and eating and drinking. It becomes normal. And when it becomes normal, it's almost like it didn't manifest itself because it's normal. So I want to go through this. It's all in your turning your consciousness, turning the fear of this evil seeds becoming karmic retribution, but turning it and making it into something that you want to accept, something that you're willing to accept. And when you're willing, it's not so bad. In fact, it's not so bad, but it becomes something that you're willing to accept and it's acceptable. And then it will just be as if nothing happened. So it's all in our mind. Remember, something that can only be understood because Buddha and the Master didn't have enough time to talk all the karma, all the things, all the Dharma. It's all left for us to feel and understand for ourselves. So I'm only able to get to 2 questions, but it's okay. So at least we're able to get some questions, and that's my sharing for today. So one last thing. Master 3-4 days ago talked about very important when we read the sutra, when we listen to the teaching, understand the meaning, not just to read through it and say, yeah, I got it, but to see the meaning behind it, to explore what do they really mean. And when Master said that, when I heard the story of the Ganges River and the sands, that's when I begin to think deeper. Does that really mean that? And what does that really mean? By all means, it's not, I don't know if it's really what truly Buddha was thinking, but to me, it becomes very optimistic. It becomes that if that's the case, then every word matters. And if that's the case, if we want to be the teacher of the Dharma, then every word matters, because we don't have enough time to say everything. Like right now, I'm already over by 8 minutes. So I'm already over my time. And so what's most important is something that we can feel, something that we can understand, something that we can replicate. And I think that's very important. So thank you. And I apologize for running over time. And we're going to open it up to different center for sharing. Thank you.
Thank Brother Joe for such wonderful insights. Today we have with us Sister Peggy from Perth. I think there are 2 Tzu Chi to share with us. Sister Peggy, over to you.
Good morning, Board Masters, Suku Suku, Xie from around the globe. The Tzu Chi Perth family is very thankful to be given such wonderful opportunity to share our small little kindness in the local community. My heartfelt gratitude to our beloved Tzu Chis. Their supports are one of the strongest pillars within Perth Tzu Chi family. Presenting today is me, a young and capable Tzu Chi who emceed during the annual nursing home Christmas celebration. I would like to start off by saying thank you to everyone for giving me this opportunity to do some sharing of my recent experiences as a Tzu Chi with the Tzu Chi organization. In December of 2018, Tzu Chi organized annual Christmas visits to nursing homes based in Perth in an effort to spread the joy and spirit of Christmas. We engaged the residents of these nursing homes in fun activities such as carol singing and treated them with musical performances brought by some of our fellow volunteers. This was a wonderful opportunity for us to show our appreciation towards the elderly for welcoming us into their homes, gifting us with the chance to spread the Tzu Chi spirit of love and compassion to those who need it most. For many, Christmas is an occasion for celebration and giving, a time for bonding, laughter,
and joy amongst families and friends. In Tzu Chi, every single one of us are part of one big family, and it is up to each of us to help spread this love and joy, especially to those who are often overlooked and forgotten amidst this festive season. Before I continue, I would first like to share a quote from Master. Being needed by others and having the ability to serve is what makes our life truly blessed. This aphorism was one which resonated with me while I was reflecting back on the nursing home visits back in December. Though the duration of the visits were brief, being able to witness the smiles of happiness, the laughter and cheer of the elderly truly warmed my heart. It has allowed me to understand that the gift of giving is perhaps the greatest gift that one can receive. I had participated in many Tzu Chi activities and events before as a volunteer prior to becoming a Tzu Jing in 2018. And I sometimes find myself wondering what it is that keeps me motivated. Eventually, I realized that it is as Master says, having the ability to serve is what makes our life truly blessed. When we make a conscious decision and commitment to help others, even if it is for something so simple as bringing them happiness by keeping them company, we are also simultaneously making a decision to help ourselves, blessing ourselves with the joy of giving.
Master says, give without expectation and give with gratitude. With great leadership from Tzu Chi alumni Sister Lydia and a strong passion to aid the needy, we embark on our medical mission with our very first dental clinic in 2013. When the terms refugees, homeless, and mental health comes to your mind, what can you think of? Vulnerability, helplessness, despair? We can come out as many descriptions as we want, but these are the true feelings that the patients are experiencing when they come through our doorstep. Some even shiver sitting at the waiting area. What can we offer is the humanistic touch, a genuine love to give them, the sense of belongingness, a shoulder to lean upon. Let them know that there's a big family that they can count upon. It's called emotional home, a home where they feel loved, appreciated, and safe. We started the monthly Timor Dental Clinic in 2017 with the idea of providing a continuation of dental care, such as root canal treatments and dentures for the patients who require frequent reviews. The monthly clinic also offers a platform for the new graduate dentists to harness the skills with the guidance of experienced clinicians. Kevin, our young 19-year-old volunteer, is going to share his recent volunteering experience at the monthly Timor clinic.
The first time I attended Timor was such an unexplainable experience. In truth, I never cheered some patients in hospitals or even accompanied them during their care. I thought it is going to be the same as talking to people in organization or university, but it is not. Some people, I may call them lucky, are having anything they want. They talk about shopping, celebrities, or even sorrow. My old madam friends were often chatting about their insecurity with their friendship trouble, that bridge, and even sometimes heartbroken. Those are their own sorrow in my perspective. After I talk to Timor patients, they are just happy. They smile and greet. We never know what is on their mind. Without the explanation, we already know they are the one who in needs. It is truly unexpected that they still can laugh. They found happiness. It's not money or a car, just a kind of people who surrounds them. From them, I depend my understanding that the world needs changes. I saw a little act, such as preparing to can help others from their suffering. Just a moment of volunteering and kindness can create changes. We are, most of us, not an Australian. We have different culture and language. But what they see in us is a human being that lives in love and compassion. How unique this is. Something that changes others' life. As an active volunteer of Tima Mandi Clinic, once again, we would like to invite Ning to share her personal growth through her interaction with the patients.
Participating in Tzu Chi's monthly Tima clinics has been such an eye-opening and inspiring experience for me. Each time, I feel blessed to have had the opportunities to interact with the patients there, being inspired by their perseverance, commitment, and determination in light of their hardships. Having the chance to converse with the refugees, patients, and even the support workers who provide transport for some of the patients have taught me to learn to appreciate the small things in life, the things that many of us often take for granted. As Kevin mentioned, as human beings, we often become immersed in the more superficial, materialistic aspects of life, focusing on things that will bring us short-term happiness rather than acknowledging and appreciating what we have already been blessed with, the necessities of life and survival. As is part of human nature, we tend to be drawn towards materialism, things that are tangible, such as wealth, a new house, a new car, whatever it may be. Interacting with patients at the Tima clinic has helped me to realize that, in fact, those are not the things that bring true happiness. Each time I volunteer there, I notice how appreciative and grateful they are of whatever service they receive, no matter how big or small. Whether it be a dental checkup or even just the fact that there are people there for them to talk to and be with. At the same time, I also felt rewarded with a sense of joy in being able to bring comfort to the patients there and put a smile on their faces. Every patient at the Tima clinic has their own stories to share, just as each of us do. When we volunteer at the clinics, it is our job to comfort the patients by conversing with them in the waiting area. And during this time, they will often share some of their background with us. Hearing their stories, it is impossible not to be moved by the courage, strength, and determination that lies in each of their hearts. For some, the hardships are due to familial separation, for others, financial instabilities or poor health. Regardless, there is one trait I have observed and admired in each individual patient, and that is the ability to hope. Their ability to make light of an otherwise difficult and dreary situation. As Master says, life is filled with pain and sufferings, but also with hope and love. While life may bear its own obstacles, with hope and love, many obstacles can be conquered. These patients are wholly committed to their well-being, with one of them even cycling to attend his appointment for lack of transportation. Thinking of this brings me back to something that the patient once said to me, the same day she was having a tooth extracted. She said, "Pain is only temporary, and it's what comes afterwards that is worth it in the end." That comment really resonated with me, and I still remember it to this very day. Many things in life are temporary, our emotions, feelings, and even some of our memories. But it's the insights we gain from these experiences that strengthen and empower us. Sometimes we can't see what's on the other side until we get there, but we must keep plowing onwards, believing in that kernel of hope, knowing that whatever it is we achieve, we are doing something for the better, whether it be for ourselves or for the rest of society. As for myself, I used to be a very reserved and self-conscious person, and I still am, though less so. Prior to volunteering at Tzu Chi events, I would rarely approach people that I was unfamiliar with, let alone have a conversation with them, because it just wasn't something that I was comfortable doing. Being part of Tzu Chi has really helped me to challenge myself in this aspect, bringing me out of my comfort zone to meet new people, learning from their experiences and sharing my own with them. In this particular aspect, participating at Tima clinics is also helping my personal growth in that it has allowed me to develop more confidence in myself. It has also inspired me to make the most of every moment and opportunity that life offers. Because if there's anything I've realized since participating in these activities, it's that every little bit counts. Master once said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one first step." Even the saint was once an ordinary human being.
Let us view a short clip of the local news from Channel 7.
Warren and Sarah would like to crack a smile. Living on the streets for 15 years, keeping up his dental hygiene's been hard. The neglects come at a personal cost.
I spent so many years in pain with my teeth, just not being able to get to getting my teeth done.
But Warren's teeth are finally getting fixed thanks to a team of volunteers. They're mostly dentists and workers from charity group Tzu Chi, helped by the next crop of dental students.
There's huge need, and there's a huge need for experience as well.
Clinics like these run twice a year, and whether it's fillings, dental decay, cleaning, extractions and x-rays, the program is thorough.
Procedures and treatment patients receive here can cost up to thousands of dollars, something they never could afford, but the difference it makes to their life, priceless.
They're paying free, so that they can now start looking at putting their lives back on track.
And there's no charge. Warren still has several appointments before he gets his new dentures, but he's already excited about what that will mean.
It's been a big mistake not looking after my teeth, so yeah, I'd love to get out there now.
Alexandra Wristway, 7 News.
On that note, we would like to take this opportunity to thank all the fellow volunteers that make these monthly clinics possible. The amount of preparation, dedication, and cooperation that is required of everyone is phenomenal. And I feel so fortunate to be able to partake in each of these Tzu Chi activities. Thank you everyone for giving us this wonderful opportunity to share some of our experiences in this morning Dharma session.
Cảm ơn.
All right, thank you so much for the sharing by three of our Tzu Chi's sisters and brothers for the sharing. It's really amazing. Your works at the Tima for these people, they are refugees over there. And I think such an experience indeed is an epitome of what that Brother Joe has been sharing the past few weeks. It is because we actually took that very first step to begin to want to care about someone else, and so that's why we actually begin to see, and in fact to hear their stories. If we haven't make that first step, or if we didn't really care about it, then they wouldn't enter our life. These refugees, people's, their life stories, they wouldn't become ours. We wouldn't be able to see them. We wouldn't be able to hear them. We will have nothing to do with them. But because of your all of your that thought of wanting to care for them, and so that's like a Dharma master. That very first step of wanting to care for them, and so that's why we got to see, we got to hear, and also thanks to the technology and thanks for your sharing it out. We also here got to see it and hear it. And we were saying just now, these refugees in Australia, they are suffering indeed, but the place they are in is still very high class and beautiful as compared to those photos that we have been seeing these few days in Myanmar or Burma. Those people are there. Master said this morning or yesterday that theirs is house with not even walls, just roofs, and you know, you can see from the front you can already see through to the back, and there's nothing in between. It's to them there's no walls. To Australia is glass walls and and still beautiful places. But then again, I believe the suffering it's in the heart, and so when we say that we are in the realm of hell, it's not really so much the places, but it's this mental state of mind. And I believe when our state of mind is suffering, then no matter where we are, it's really a terrible feeling, no matter what we get. And so thank for all of you to be there to care for them, and I'm sure they would have felt that warmth, the humanistic touch, and yes, also seeing Tzu Ching and youths doing all this is really great, because today we also have a lot of graduated Tzu Chings all here. Brother Joe is also graduated Tzu Ching, and so and we have a few from Singapore also here. Yeah, and yeah, so we're all here doing all the same thing. So all the best to you all, and hope to see you very soon. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Brother Joe, Brother Yoping, for the sharing. Indeed, that was the reason why I asked Brother Joe, was because he's our representative here in Tzu Ching, because he's a lot younger than me. And I don't know if I'm still qualified at Tzu Ching, but I remember seeing Lydia years ago, my goodness, when she was like a much younger girl. She came to Taiwan, and she couldn't speak Mandarin. And she had to report in the room full of adults and also master. And so she had to write down all the phonetics in English to piece it together. And that really moved me in that, to be a teacher of Dharma, do you really have to speak the same language? Well, yes, you do. But I think the essence is that I saw that her willingness, it's not that she will now be able to teach the Dharma in Mandarin, no, but the willingness and the idea of herself wanting to do that, that's going to drive her through to all the difficulties that you and others might face. So I remember it was Alice and Patrick to begin with, and then at the time Lydia was still a student. She wasn't practicing yet, and years later she came back. She hadn't changed a bit. She still looked like a girl. Well, I mean, little girl. I mean, I don't mean boy, but she looked like a little young girl. But she was already a practicing doctor. And I remember Master asking her, well, are people going to have less confidence because she looks like a little girl? And amazingly, I understand the answer now. The answer is, well, when she's treating others, she puts on the mask so no one knows how young she looks. But the idea is, imagine this, right? The first step is to accept and to be willing to do it. The next step is to share with others so that they are also willing to do it. The next step after that is to teach the others how they can also lead others to do it. And I think that's the idea of being the teacher of Dharma. Lydia at first didn't understand, but she was willing to just try it. So under the guidance of Alice and Patrick, they began to do it, right? They began to, let's do this dental thing. And I think I remember Australia has probably one of the most, the youngest TIMA members, especially most complete in the dental forces, in the department, in the dental department. So they did it first and they thought, this is right, so I'm gonna do more. But they realized, Alice and Patrick realized that it can't just be themselves. So then they cooperate with schools and they cooperate with other Tzu Ching youth and also Tzu Ching collegiate group to work together and to share with them and say, hey, you guys do it too. Because they're already onto the second stage. I'm gonna teach you to do it. After that, I'm going to teach you to teach others to do it. And that's what Brother Kevin, even though just 19 years old, his sharing is already sharing with us. He's already like the teacher of Dharma, to share with us and share with others, to share with them that we should also do this too. So once again, thank you. You're the embodiment of the young generation of the teacher of Dharma. And please continue the good work. And we're all very happy. And hopefully in the future, we'll hear and see more of your sharings. Thank you. And thank you to all the people here today. And I think that will be it for today. Thank you.
Okay, cảm ơn Brother Joe Huang, Brother Joe Yoping, Sister Peggy, hello, Sister Lydia, Brother Kelvin, and many brothers and sisters for all your heartfelt and wisdom sharing. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence today. Really excited and inspiring day. Hope that each of us will sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of Dharma Master and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 vows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Comes together. Let us pay our respect to the teachers of life, universal truth. First vow. Second vow. Third vow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who could join us today. Cảm ơn. See everyone next Saturday. Cảm ơn.
Okay, bye bye everybody. Bye. Bye.